Are you tired of watching shows that only give you general social media theory and expect you to figure out how to apply it to your own industry? Join us for this week's episode of Social Chatter, the industry's longest-running social media marketing news talk show. Not only will you learn the latest breaking news, but you'll also gain practical advice on how to apply it. Now here's your host, Christian Karasiewicz.
Welcome, everyone, to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing news talk show. This is episode 324 with myself and Sara Munro. And this week, we're going to have a bit of a departure, actually, from just the normal breaking social media news. And so while we always talk about social media news each week, this is the last show of the year, heading into 2022 in just a few days. And so what we're going to do this week is we're going to talk about predictions for social media in 2022. And we've recruited a number of our favorite guests that have appeared on the show throughout the years to come and join us and share their predictions. But with that, I'm going to go and bring on Sara. Introduce you. If you don't know Sara, she co-hosts with me on Social Chatter, and we're going to kick things off. So Sara, it's great seeing you. How you doing?
Great to see you too. And we have our crystal balls out today, right? All of the guests that contributed today's show and us, we brought out our crystal balls and we will try to predict what might happen in social media in 2022 and also what we hope for social media too. I think that's a lot of things that are threaded through what you'll hear today from our guests that we'll bring on virtually, so that we can celebrate the new year and go forth with digital marketing.
Definitely. Yeah. And so, by the way, just a quick reminder for those of you watching, we're broadcasting over on YouTube, but we're also over on Twitter Spaces at Social Chefs as well. So if you want to go and listen there, you can also just listen as well. But we'd obviously love to have you participate in the chat as well. So with that, what I want to do is I'm gonna bring on our first guest, and this is Troy Sandidge, and Troy was previously a guest on the show. He's actually been on numerous times, actually. And I think we even have him scheduled for 2022, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly. And actually, he was the first guest, the first time that I was a substitute co-host. Yeah. He was the guest. So it's nice that we're kicking off with Troy today.
Very cool. Yeah. And I think he was on, if my memory serves me right, let me see if it was 276, I think. Let me see. It was quite a while. We've had him on 276. Yep. I know we've also had him on 194. As you can see, we go quite a few years back. So let's go and bring on Troy, and let's see what his predictions were for 2022.
Hello, I'm Troy Sandidge, an award-winning marketing strategist, also known as a strategy hacker, and I help emerging brands to Fortune 100 level up and accelerate their growth in the global marketplace. Here are my predictions for 2022. Email marketing will have a shining resurgence across most industries. Social audio combined with communities on platforms like Clubhouse with clubs, and Twitter Spaces combined with their recently rolled out communities are going to replace a lot of Facebook groups, but drive more engagement, which is a perfect segue for my favorite platform of choice, being that it is Twitter, and that with the expansion of Twitter communities and the depth and options they are now rolling out with Twitter Spaces as being scheduling, recording, and other options for you to share out to other platforms and links and things like that, I truly, sincerely believe that Twitter will be more viable for businesses who want to move fast in their respective marketplace. Lastly, businesses need to think about how will they distribute their content heading into 2022. Let me make this very clear. Quality content is no longer about how long it takes you to do the content, how expensive it was, who was all involved. Quality of content is determined by your consumer, determined by the people who actually engage, watch, listen your content. So the thing to think about is how well does your content distribute and redistribute among various channels? Growth requires change. Those who adapt, who change frequently and often to what is given while remaining true to their business, their message, their mission at their core, are the ones who are going to see the most growth in the coming year. So being able to repackage your content into email, social audio, short video, articles, and short text posts will be critical, as social will take another shift as we hit year 3 in this pandemic. I look forward to seeing you all in the coming year, full of success, opportunities, and the willingness to release old approaches and embracing new methodologies when it comes to social media, digital marketing, and business trends in general in this coming year. My content focuses on simplifying strategy, marketing, and businesses for you to have scalable and sustainable growth. We got to make that money, y'all. We got to make that green. You can follow me on all social channels at Find Troy. You can listen to my podcast at idigress.fm. And look out for my new book, Strategize Up, in the coming year. Let's get ours in this new year. Let's embrace new methodology when it comes to social media. Let's not be afraid to change, to optimize, to modify accordingly, to adapt so we can be successful. Social media does not work. Digital marketing does not work if we're not willing to make the necessary changes, unlearn some things, relearn some things, and embrace new things for us to really maximize our time and efforts through the social media channels to get the success that we want. So keep that in mind, stay focused, and I wish you all nothing but success in 2022.
Pretty cool, right?
Oh, we gotta love Troy, right? And having that call to action to change, keep up with some of the old methodologies, but be open to new approaches and change. Because certainly we've seen in this last year, social media has changed constantly. That Instagram alone had 14 changes in November. So I love his approach, and I completely agree that email is where it's going to be. I've seen it over the last year and a half. Email has just been far more engaging for the work that I've been doing.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And the other side that I think I want to add to that is that while I think email is going to be, like, 100% agree with Troy, I think it's going to be a really important piece in the marketing puzzle. The other factor, though, that plays into that is that if you've looked at platforms like Apple, for example, they've started to also move to where people can choose to show their email address or hide their email address. And that, in a way, like if you think about your social media profiles are out there, but by moving, I think, to the email side, I think that's actually going to then be, you know what, if somebody wants to really, like, they trust me and they want to give me their email address, they're going to give me their real email address versus hiding their email address versus, and not responding to social media posts and things like that. So I definitely think, again, it's still, even years later, we're still talking about email marketing. So
yep, people still read them. That's why, and it works.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, let's do this. Let's hear from our next guest, and this is Juliette Stapleton. She was previously on episode 292, and that was actually just like a month or two ago. And we have her again. She's coming back in 2022 as well. You can check out that episode with her, socialchefs.com/SC292, if you want to check out some of the past episodes we've had her on. But let's hear what her predictions were.
Hi, my name is Juliette Stapleton. I'm a visibility sales strategist. You can find me at juliettestapleton.com. My prediction for 2022 is actually quite huge. I really believe that we're on this edge of a massive shift in how we show up on social media as brands and as individuals. In terms of marketing, I think we're really stepping away now from the direct kind of bro marketing style. You make 100K in 30 days and unrealistic promises that leave a lot of people in our audience feeling inadequate and feeling like there's something wrong with them and actually paralyzed in their marketing. And I think that in 2022, most people in our audience are exhausted from being treated that way. And there's going to be a massive shift from no longer following into the trap of these promises and looking for the way to build their marketing, marketing is relationship building. So build those relationships with our audiences in a way that we empower people in our audiences to show up, to speak up openly with responsibility. And that's the word for 2022 for me. It's responsibility. Are you trying to get something for yourself, or are you here to give, whether it's empowerment, whether it's value, whether it's your presence, inspiration, your voice? Are you here to serve to the collective and not just look after your individual needs? And I think that we are here, and we are like a beautiful flower blossoming and opening up to that new level of responsibility, shifting away from the fear of just have an opinion and I am always right, and towards embracing that your voice is just a part of something bigger, of the society, of the humanity, and using that voice responsibly for the betterment of this world, of this planet, of our lives, of your life. That's my wish for you for 2022. Happy New Year.
That is also another great prediction, actually. So how do you feel about that one, Sarah?
You're going to hear some of the same things when I give my predictions today too, is that social media can be a place for good. And now we've heard from Troy and Juliette, who are talking about communities and building responsible communities and not trying to chase the big brands and the big promises that have exhausted everyone. I think we are all weary and wary of the folks who are promising everything, who are spreading misinformation. And now is the time to be a contributing member to a community of information and sharing. And I just love Juliette's approach. She has a human design approach. And I would encourage people to go back and listen to the episode. What was it? 294, 292?
292. Yeah.
292 with her, where she talks about human design. And actually we'll probably talk to her a little bit about that when she comes back on in January.
Yeah, definitely. And I got to say, I mean, she echoes some of the same sentiments that my good friend Jessica Phillips also echoes. She, she preaches like the whole thing about, building relationships with people online. People don't want to be talking to like a logo, things like that, And so I think that's going to be obviously like super important. And I think it's because, again, it takes down some of those barriers that people have a lot of times to, when they are marketing to somebody online. It's very easy to put up a website and to look all pretty and have everything like, look great. But then what it comes down to is like, well, then what can you do for us when we do work with you? So
Right. And we heard it from Troy too. Troy said quality content isn't how much money you spend on it and how well produced it is. It's how well it connects with people. And now Juliette is saying the same thing, to connect with people on a human level.
Definitely. Okay. So let's keep things moving, by the way. And so we talked with Troy, we talked with Juliette. We've got Junaid Ahmed coming up next with his predictions for social media 2022. And I got to say, just an amazing individual. Always just enjoy having him on. He also is he's a beekeeper actually as well, which we always found so fascinating because he works in more of the video. He runs a show called Hacks and Hobbies. So let's hear from Junaid. And he was with us, by the way, in episode 293. So socialchefs.com/SC293 if you want to listen to more things that Junaid has talked about.
Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for the amazing question. First off, my name is Junaid Ahmed, and I'm the founder of Home Studio Mastery, where I help others build their home studios to look like mine. What are some of the predictions for 2022? Well, each of these social media platforms, they are becoming more similar to each other. Why? Because the same people are on the different platforms, and human beings tend to do similar things no matter where they are. Sure, the context might change, but we love to do the same thing on every platform. One of my favorite platforms is and has been Facebook. The ability to bring folks together. It's got a much mature audience now with business owners and more grown-ups hanging out in these platforms. They've spent a ton of efforts and ton of resources on creating places for gamers. There's a ton of gamers on there. There's a ton of business owners on there. There's groups have grown massively, and they've added a very brand new thing to Facebook called neighborhoods. So you, as a homeowner, as somebody that's living in a neighborhood, can connect with people digitally, and that's going to continue to grow next year. As a business owner, as a digital business owner, we're creating content, we're creating services in the digital world. And no matter what, you want to be available, you want to make your services available on every platform, may it be Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. It all comes down to where's your audience loving your content, and how are you engaging with that content? How are you engaging with their stuff on these platforms? So make sure that you're creating content on each of these platforms and have some kind of strategy in place where it makes it easy for you to create a single piece of content, break it up, and modify it so then it can go on the specific platforms and bring that audience back to you. Now, as you build and grow your business on each of these platforms, make sure that you're also looking at the analytics, or understand how these analytics help you create the type of content that people are looking for. And if you don't understand how it is, take a course or hire somebody that's going to help you understand what each metric means as you create this content, because we don't want to be running in a content cycle where we're just continually posting content without looking at, hey, is this stuff really working? What do we need to modify? What do you need to change? And figure out what's going to really help. Now, one of the words in social media marketing is social. So get social, bring your personal side out on these platforms, because as people see, oh, you're a cyclist? Whoa, I didn't know that. I'm a cyclist too. Or if you're a photographer, if you're a beekeeper, if you're a musician, all of these things connect on a deeper level as you talk about them on your platforms. Now, 2021 has been a little bit similar to 2020, but 2022 will be more of a blend and helping us realize that where there's a will, there's a way. So I wish you a very happy and prosperous 2022. There's a saying that says, a rising tide lifts all boats. But if you don't have a boat in the water, it's not going to help you. So make sure you get your boat out there, build your content and build your audience, and share everything that you know. Teach everything that you know to your audience, to the people that are coming to listen to you. And I wish you a very happy new year, and we'll see you in the next year.
Got to say, always just sage advice, just listening to Junaid. I got to say, I mean, the things I think I really like about just his conversation. I mean, I like how he gave the example of, not being afraid to let people see that other side of you. Like, for example, if you're into beekeeping, or I think he gave the example of cycling. I think that, again, like letting people see that, because that's going to then help open your market up to a lot more people versus, oh, hey, you're just seen as a marketer, for example.
Right.
And the same thing for just producing content. I mean, it's great to produce content. You do need to do it, but you need to be strategic with it. So,
right. And Junaid has a great balance of his personal life and his professional life. So yeah. I know that, I'm connected with him on Facebook and some other platforms, and he's not always trying to sell or show what his expertise is, right? He's showing his human side. I see that he went on a bike ride somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great side to show on your social media. For me, I've reclaimed my Twitter, not my Twitter feed. Me on Twitter is kind of a joke, but no, on Instagram, I reclaimed Instagram. It was my happy place where I share photography, and that's what I've gone back to. And people may find me because I talk about digital marketing and social media management in my captions, but they can connect with me as a person and see where I've been. And I think that's really important. And I really like Junaid's final point. We've all heard a rising tide lifts all boats, but you have to have a boat in the water to be lifted, right? And getting your boat in the water, pulling out your oars, and starting your journey is really important. That's the first thing to do, is to get your boat in the water.
It is, yes, absolutely, and I love that advice. So let's check in on the comments. Let's see if we have any comments from our guests. So, want to thank a couple of good friends here. We got NLTMW here joining us. Fantastic. Bob's got his crystal ball ready, and Bob also brought up a really good point. I think people don't do business with business. People, don't do business with businesses. They do business with people. Be a person. Be real. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's great advice.
And we saw that in 2021. There was a time, I want to say sometime in the springtime, McDonald's had put out a tweet that was I think it was the beleaguered social media manager who had said something funny like, everybody just keeps asking about the McRib. No one really asks, how are you? And all of the other major brands, certainly in the fast food business, but then other brands like toys, a toy store, and it wasn't Toys R Us because they're out of business, but different big brands came in. Target came in, and they all sort of showed their support for each other. It was a lot of fun. So
I forgot what day that was. It was you know what, was it the day that Facebook went down?
No, I think it was I want to say it was in the spring.
I remember exactly what you're talking about. Like, yes.
Yeah. We'll have to find it. We can put it in the show notes.
Definitely. So that's great advice from Junaid. Again, make sure you go and check out our other conversation we had with him. That was episode 293, socialchefs.com/SC293. Up next, we've got Agata Pawlak, actually. She was on 318 with us, episode 318. So just like a few weeks ago, I think. And so, sorry, a few weeks ago, actually. Let me do the math. That's actually a few months ago, actually.
It's all a blur. That's one thing. 2021, all a blur.
Yeah. So let's bring her on and let's see what she has to say about where social media is headed in 2022.
Hello, everybody. I'm Agata Pawlak from Cruise Creative Media, and I want to talk to you about my social media predictions for 2022. Well, first of all, of course, I think in 2022, video is going to be a thing that is developing very, very quickly. And we're going to see a lot more companies jumping on a video, and those who has been hesitant, I think, are going to start doing video too. Another thing, I think that in general, paid marketing is going to start working a little bit better. There already have been predictions about, Facebook ads and Instagram ads being improved and starting working a little bit better for all the marketers who are selling products. Now, if it goes to platforms, I want to focus on YouTube a little bit because YouTube is a little different platform and has a little bit longer video, which I think also will be developing in 2022. I have a prediction that shorts might actually decline on YouTube, but in the same time, the reels on Instagram will be further developing. But I also think that reels are going to change a little bit, and you really will have to focus on quality, on jumping on trends, because of course the competition is now more fierce than it has been before. At the beginning, when you started doing reels, it was basically enough to do reels, and Instagram was pushing your reels further, and you were having very big reach. However, now I think more storytelling reels are going to be more trendy, and a little bit more authentic reels as well, especially for businesses. What I also think, going back to YouTube, is that the boom of lives is also going to be quite visible, and more businesses and companies are going to jump on that as well to use it as a selling tool. I also think that audio might be slowly dying. And it might become, niche, but I really don't see, the live audio rooms and, your Clubhouse and all of that being super popular. At least it's not going to be, the biggest trend. So those were my predictions for 2022. I wish you all a very happy new year, and hopefully you will be able to crush it on social media. And I hope to talk to you very soon. Bye.
More expert advice.
Exactly. And she's calling out audio too. We've all been going there. I have to say, I may agree with her that live audio may not go far, but with podcasts, how podcasts have been rising very slowly and steady, I think we may see that keep going.
You definitely got the slow and steady part right about podcasting. Yeah. It's been years, but it does take time. I gotta say though, the part about the audio it's somewhat surprising to me, I think, and that's just because of the fact that I actually love the idea of streaming audio. I just wish I had an easier way to do it. Because, for example, right now we're streaming this out. I wish this was capable of being streamed to a podcasting service. Like I wish the podcasting service, instead of being, hey, manual uploads, that I could stream my audio out and then they'd keep an archive of that. Like that's what I would love to see. But again, I guess at the same time, if people aren't producing, like, you have two different angles, I guess people produce that. They produce either putting everything together up front, and having everything kind of ready to go and just doing it all live and letting mistakes happen, versus producing it and actually building the whole thing behind the scenes. And then when you've got it, I don't say perfect, when you've got it done and in a good, final product, then you can ship the product. But I'd love to see that aspect. But I do also, I 100% agree with her as well with the fact that competition's fierce. It's going to be very fierce. So
yep, absolutely. And with the shorter video content, I typically scroll through Instagram with the volume off, but I've been doing it with it on lately. And my Instagram feed is loud, right? Yeah. That's the only thing that I could say about it. It is loud now. And I think everybody's going to start figuring out this short video content, because I think we've had this flood of TikTok videos that have come in, and it's really come head on with people who have traditionally used Facebook and Instagram, and the content just isn't there. The content quality isn't there. There's a lot of copycatting. There's a lot of things that just don't resonate with people. It's a lot of noise. And I think that noise is going to have to will start to drop off, and people will start to have more quality storytelling in their reels.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing, I mean, it still comes back to like the point that was made a few minutes ago about people being authentic, and being a real person, kind of like Junaid's comment about letting people see kind of the other side of you. You've got copycatting, things like that go on. And a lot of people, you really just need to, like, part of it's just finding out who your audience is that you really you work best with, working more with them. And then, like, you're going to have people that copycat all the time. I mean, the thing is, there really aren't any original ideas and things like that. So,
and we, our show, we really focus on businesses and brands, right? And personal branding as well. We're not talking about the creators that are doing, taking the same audio and then producing their own little video clips to that. That's a huge part of what Reels is and what TikTok has been. And it's kind of fun and amusing. So if you can find a way into that, whatever's trending piece of content that you can add your own take on, that would be great. But as Agata said, and I think you and I totally agree, is that tried and true storytelling is really important, and using the new tools to tell those stories will be what we can do next.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, again, I mean, this, by the way, if you like this format, do us a favor, give us a thumbs up on the video, and also leave us a comment as well. Let us know what you think about this. Because we may repurpose this for next year, actually, and do the same format. I feel it's going pretty well, but I want to hear from our viewers. So,
absolutely.
Okay, so we had Junaid on. We've had Agata. Up next, we've got Bob Hope coming up. Actually, sorry, nope, not Bob Hope. Sorry, we've got Scott Ayres. Actually, he was a social media scientist. He's been our most tenured guest actually on the show. And so we invited him to come on. He's been on a host of episodes. I think the most recent was, 291 at socialchefs.com/SC291. But let's hear what Scott has to say about where social media is headed in 2022.
Hey, social chatters. This is Scott Ayres here, the social media scientist, with some of my predictions for marketing and specifically social media for 2022. We've seen this throughout 2021, but I think it's going to be even more important in 2022. And that's businesses focusing on content that's consumable quickly. Get to the point with your content. Your videos just need to be boom right into it. There's no more need for a long intro and lots of the fluff that we typically would see in the past. You need to get right to it. Think TikTok. The first second or two, you better hook somebody or they're gone. Apply what TikTok has done over the last few years to all your other social media sites. That's why we have Reels. That's why there's YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, all these things. So the short, sweet content that's entertaining, but also educational is stuff that businesses need to leverage and will continue to have to leverage as we move forward and as attention spans get smaller and smaller. Live video will continue to have its place throughout all of social media for different businesses, but it needs to be educational. It needs to be entertaining. And you need to maybe rethink where you're sending your live video to. I still say you should stream to all the socials that you have, but you might consider instead on Facebook, if you've got multiple pages and groups and those sort of things, funnel everyone to one place, specifically on Facebook. Tell them, hey, we're going live over here in the group, or hey, we're going live over here in the Facebook page. Funnel them to that instead of being live in 6 places on Facebook at the same time, because that's confusing to your audience. Like, where do they go to engage? And you're getting bad engagement on all of them. Yeah, all together it's cool, but you could do better by pushing them all to one. That's just kind of my thought. I also think that businesses are waking up and no longer sleeping on LinkedIn. With the great resignation that's happened in 2021, more people are active on LinkedIn than ever. And I think you as a business need to find a way to be over there, especially if you're offering services. There's lots of people looking for services that are out there, and you might be the one that can offer them, the services, or maybe you find a side gig over there, those sort of things. So I think business need to focus on LinkedIn, figure out what their niche over there is. It is a little different than other places, but there's a lot of activity on there. So that's just some of my quick predictions for 2022. Hope you guys have a great new year. If you want to find me anywhere on social, look for Scott Ayres, or just look for the orange hair. You'll find me.
That's some pretty good advice. So you got any commentary on that one, Sarah?
I like what he said. He said short, sweet, entertaining, and educational. And I think that's great advice for all content. We do have shorter attention spans. Although I will say, I'll watch several 20-minute YouTube videos instead of watching television, and a lot of people will consume longer form content in different places. So, I do really like his specific tips. Scott, he's got the great predictions and he's got theory and analysis, but I love that he puts in very concrete tips. And I love the one about Facebook. If you're going live on Facebook, don't spread it out across a couple of groups that you manage and a couple of pages. Really narrow it down so that people know where you can go, because then you'll get better engagement, which means more people discovering you. There's lots of things that come with engagement, and that's a really important tip when it comes to video.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that and I know I'm going to talk predictions in a little bit as well, but yeah, I 100% agree that, you do have to don't spread yourself too thin. It's great to test out different platforms, but again, don't force being on all these different platforms. A lot of people just try to do it, and they don't really have the strategy in place, things like that. So let's do this. Let's see. Who do we have next bringing up a prediction? So we've got Melanie Diane Howe. She was previously a guest on episode 280. You can check that out at socialchefs.com/SC280. Let's hear what her predictions were.
Hey, Melanie Diane Howe here, and I want to share with you my predictions for 2022 when it comes to video, live video, and YouTube. I think that we're going to see more collaborations, more guests on shows, because quite frankly, there's a couple major reasons for this. One is the applications and the software that we're using to create videos and to create live streams is just making it easier. It's easier and easier to have a guest on your show or even a co-host, which when I think of collaborations, that's what I think of. I literally think of you having people in your show as guests, but also you looking at a partnership type of stream or partnership type of, content where you actually have a co-host where you do the show together. So we obviously love how Christian does all kinds of shows with guests, but he also has co-hosts in his shows as well. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Now, the other major reason for this that I believe that we're going to see more of this in 2022 is, quite frankly, it's smart. It's actually a really good strategy to have more people in your videos. It gives your audience a variety. It's not just you always in the content that they're learning from. Plus, you can't know absolutely everything. And so when you bring another subject matter expert or another perspective, it's going to actually even increase the value that your audience is going to get in your content. And then, of course, just that variety factor, having two people kind of pitching and catching and going back and forth, sharing different perspectives really does add a lot of interest to the content itself. Now, as far as collaborations go and co-hosting, hey, it's just a lot of fun to actually have more than one person conducting the show and actually bringing other guests on where you're both interviewing that guest as well. Now, again, as I mentioned, these applications that we're using to create videos and to live stream are making this so much easier. In fact, StreamYard, we saw in 2021, actually came out with an awesome feature called StreamYard Teams, which actually allows more than one person to have controls of the actual stream, meaning producing the stream, pulling up comments, deciding what overlays get displayed and when. That makes the whole co-hosting and collaborations even easier and, quite frankly, a lot more fun because it's not just all on you. So again, my name is Melanie Diane Howe, and my predictions for 2022, more collaborations. So my question for you is, who are you going to have in your show? Who are you going to consider co-hosting a show with? Let us know in the comments because we'd love to know.
I got to say, I like the idea of the more collaborations, and I think I love the way, if you kind of think about it. So if it's you on a stream with someone else, like if it was just us all the time, for example, or it was just me and a guest, you have to really have when you add a co-host, when you add an additional guest, it makes your live streams more interesting. And I think at the same time, it helps to broaden your marketing reach as well. A lot of people, going back to, I think what was Junaid said, a lot of people go through the motions of just doing things like publishing content. And so I think by, offering up, having different collaborations, being on different people's streams, things like that, I think it's going to help expand your marketing reach a lot better. And you don't have to go in there and sell things. You are selling things by you being informative and knowing the material and just being a subject matter expert. So what do you think?
Right. I think it brings a lot more interesting content into a show. And when we're working together too, just to give a little behind the scenes, it's the end of the year holidays, might as well show a little bit of how this is made, right? That Christian, you're doing a lot of the technical side of the show. So when we're interviewing a guest or trying to move the news forward, you're doing all the switching in the background and I'm doing the talking, right? And also there's a lot that goes into doing these live shows. So it's important to have people who can jump in and read comments. We're in a private chat saying, hey, this is a good comment. Let's bring up this comment. Let's tap this. Let's adapt this question that we're going to ask a guest. And we're doing it in real time in response to the people who are engaging with us. And that's really hard to do alone. If we were to do this, if someone was to do this alone, you would keep hearing that, oh, well, let's go to the comments now, instead of me being able to talk and you're reading the comments and can bring, pop one in or vice versa. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I got to say, I love Melanie's prediction, collaborations. And here's the thing. I think the other tip that I would add is a lot of times people are afraid to actually ask somebody to work together with them a lot. And I think that partly comes down to rejection, for example, if you're just starting out and you're down here at the bottom and you're like, hey, I want to try to reach somebody up at the top. Maybe you won't be able to make that immediate jump, but what you can do is you can take a series of jumps through other people, for example, work with somebody who's a little bit higher up than you, that gives you a little bit more confidence then, or maybe you take 2 rungs at a time, for example. And then, again, people lead to people. So coming back to relationships.
Right. Or you ask someone to be your mentor too. If there's someone that you followed and that you really appreciate, you can ask someone to be your mentor, and a lot of people will do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the key thing. I think a lot of people are afraid to ask. And I'd say this, if you want to reach out to somebody, don't just for starters, you could go and you can try to message them through a Facebook or if you use Twitter direct messages, you can try that. But a lot of times just go to their website, go through their contact form, send them a friendly message. They may have a form where they may just have a form where you can just book time with them. They're literally for the most part, they're just waiting for you to ask. They're waiting for people to ask them to be a guest. So, and if you do get people that say, hey, you know what, I want to help, I want to be on your show, or, hey, I want to have you on, and things like that, make the most of it.
Right.
So, okay. With that, we're moving over to, actually, you know what, let's do this. Let's check the comments first. Do we have any good comments coming in? Let's see. So, a couple comments from Bob Farnham saying, hey, you know what? He's with you in regards to watching YouTube videos instead of traditional TV. Again, there's a lot of stuff you can watch. Like you can, like, I think the other day you and I were talking, and I sent you a link to, like, I knew you had an iPad, and I was like, hey, you know what? I thought this might be helpful. And it was like, it was a 30-minute video on how to do like what do you call it? Like on different gestures that you can do on an iPad for like split screen and things like that. And so I was like, it was a 30-minute video. I literally sat and watched the whole 30 minutes because the content was engaging. So I was learning, but at the same time, I was also, getting that entertaining content that our friend Scott Ayres mentioned. So that's excellent advice from Bob. So let's do this. Let's bring up our next social media prediction for 2022. And this is coming from Marco Novo. He was previously a guest on episode 279, socialchefs.com/SC279. Let's hear from Marco.
Hello, Marco Novo from Portugal here. And I'm here to share my thoughts about the next year, 2022. And I think this will be an in real time year. Okay, so we are seeing how Twitter Spaces are doing well, Clubhouse, how live streaming it's growing as well, and even live shopping like Amazon Live and the other platforms that are exploding. And I think you should think about this as well, because live streaming in real time interaction, it's really important. This helps you to build trust, build confidence with your prospects or customers. Also, this will help you to improve the loyalty, because they are there in real time interacting with you, knowing how you think. They have the possibility to make you questions. You have the possibility to answer. And this is really important because it builds a really different experience between you and your customers. And also this will help you, for instance, on live shopping, to share how your products work, how they can help. And also this will allows you to interact in real time with your customers, because they can ask you, oh, can you tell me how does it work? It's heavy, it's not how big it is. And you have the chance to do all this in real time, which recorded video, recorded content won't allow you. This in real time interaction. So this is my thought, my prediction, my recommendation as well to 2022 is work around in real time content. Okay? This was Marco Novo from Portugal. You can find me on social media platforms through MFC Novo. Wish you an amazing 2022, and don't forget to go through in real time content. Bye bye.
So Sarah, what do you think?
What I really like about about what Marco is saying is that, first of all, e-commerce isn't going anywhere. We've learned that. And that small local businesses need to find ways to really engage people, to either get them in their stores or curbside pickup or mailing things, right? As much going out the front door needs to go out the back door, right? When it comes to small businesses now. And with that real-time content that he's talking about, this is your chance to give people that experience of shopping with you that they would have if they were walking into a brick and mortar store, whether or not you ever had a brick and mortar store, right? So this is your way to interact with people. And I think that kind of live streaming is much different than this kind of live streaming that we're doing, right? Where people are talking. That kind of live streaming is very intended to be interruptive, right? That the comments, we're supposed to be very quickly responding to comments and constantly breaking of what our script is to respond to comments and have people ask questions and then lead them to the next question.
Yeah, definitely. And I got to say, I like the whole point as well about, making just creating video like you're going to hear this. I mean, you've got, you do need to create video content. And the great thing is, it's like that it plays on that same theme. It needs to be entertaining. It needs to be educational, and it needs to hook the guest the viewer. And so, if it does, great. Like, and that's the thing. That's a lot of times we just make video. Like when you look at our first YouTube videos that we've done, you're going to see that they weren't very good. There were a lot of things that need to be improved: audio, video, lighting, all that, the standard things. And then it's something that over time you go and you improve. And so the thing is, it's like you have to put out a version. It's like version 1, see how it is. And then, okay, let's massage it. What do we trim off? How do we like make it sleek and fast, like a race car, basically? How do we make it? Yeah.
Everybody has their first day. Everybody has their first day on Instagram or on YouTube or on a live stream. Everybody has their first day, and we've all been there. So being forgiving, encouraging people, I think, is really important too when you see them making that step.
Definitely. So up next, we're going to hear from Bob Farnham. Bob, as you can see, he's actually very active in the comments, and we're going to make sure we get him booked for 2022 as well. But let's hear what his social media prediction is for 2022.
Hey, Christian and Sarah, I just can't even believe I'm on Social Chef. It's an honor to be asked, and I appreciate the opportunity. You asked me about what my predictions might be for social media for 2022, and I got thinking about it. And for me this year, it's a social media platform that I think we might have even forgotten about, and it was, I think, the first social media platform was email. Because it was, you were able to forward it to other people and share it around. And so I'm really looking at, for my business anyway, I don't need millions of people. I need an audience and not that large of a one. And my ability to nurture a relationship with folks using email in a really tasteful and creative way, I think could be a really effective way that you can, one of the ways that you can communicate using social media. So the other one was, I do have two, if I could. And the second one is other social platforms like Mighty Network and others that are similar to the concept of Facebook, but without all the downside of Facebook. So I think that people are, and organizations, businesses, could be taking advantage of those off Facebook platforms that are similar to Facebook to be able to communicate with their audience in a really creative and effective way. So helping folks on social platforms has been what I thought it was all about to begin with, and now I'm looking at these other independent social platforms as a way that we could be switching in that direction and controlling our platforms a little bit better. So email, I think, is going to be really critical for me. And it's something that, again, it's a platform that you control. So, and the other one is other platforms that you can use to communicate with your audience or your customers. So those are my two predictions for 2022. I tried to do this in one take. Really appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to seeing you in person someday. I'll buy the coffee. So that's all for now. Thanks.
Excellent advice as well from Bob. Sarah, you have any thoughts on this?
I have to cheers, Bob. Morning caffeine. Bob and I actually are friends, and we've worked together in the past. We've spent a very long Sunday doing product shots for an e-commerce client once upon a time. So nice. I love that he's going old school. The OG social sharing, it was email. And he's not, even in today's show, and we certainly agree, email is coming back into the conversation. And I love how he's talking about the off Facebook. And I'm trying to remember, there is a sharing platform that a lot of my friends who are parents, and actually parents of children and parents of pets, it's a subscription service. You pay for it. The name of it is just escaping me right now, and I can't Google search fast enough to really get the answer. But maybe a paid experience or off Facebook, some kind of thing where people can share things in a very private way, maybe more of a thing in 2022. I have to say, the last 2 years, I'm doing a lot more texting than I am posting with my close friends.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And I would tend to agree. The other point that I think I want to make sure I touch on real quick is I like the fact that he talks about using other platforms. Again, a lot of people think social media and they think Facebook and they think Twitter and they think Instagram, and LinkedIn, and Pinterest is still on there, by the way. And a lot of people, they think about these platforms and they don't think about the other ones that are outside of that. And here's the thing, yes, Facebook may have the bigger audience, but it's not necessarily the only place. And your audience, and I love the point that he made. You don't need a huge audience. And that's the big, that echoes some of the same sentiments that I think it was it Juliette that was talking about, that you don't need millions of people.
Right.
You don't need a huge audience. And the problem is that a lot of people, I think, are thinking they need this huge audience, and they really don't. It's find the right platform, find your audience. Who's your audience? Find what platform do they spend their time on, and go there and spend your time there. Scott even said this, focus on putting the content on one place. It's great. You can put it on all the other places, but when you find that one place, you got to keep going back to that well until it's dry.
Right. Right. Or going back to that one place so that people know they find you there. Yeah. That's where they find you. Right. And I've heard Mitch Joel speak of this. And I think some of our guests today have touched on this point too, is that you are a person talking to people, right? And you may be sharing parts of your personal life or your interests that have a broad reach, but when it comes to business, you're really trying to speak to just a handful of people, whether you're a consultant or a very boutique agency like what Mitch Joel used to run. His team could only handle 3 clients a year. They did huge projects with these 3 clients, but he spoke to millions in order to get to those 3 people. And he spoke to millions because he liked doing it, right? So when we use Junaid as an example, he likes talking to people about hobbies. And so that's what his podcast is about. And that's what he shares about. His professional life might be adjacent to that, but people see what he can produce in doing that hobby show, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I gotta say, this has been, we've had some great, we've even had some of our guests tune in. We had Juliette, she tuned in and she's, hey, loves the points as well. So again, here's the other thing I think, and this comes back to what we've been talking about. Everyone that we've had on has a different perspective. And we didn't do this. We didn't say, well, hey, we want you to talk about this and this and this.
Exactly.
We just let them come up with their predictions. And you're going to notice a theme, and they all happen to just be very similar to one another and have, some relation to one another. So everyone has something to bring to the table. You have to remember that. So, so let's keep it going. We have a few more predictions actually. So we talked with Bob. We also have Dorien Morin-van Dam, and so she's with Morin Media. She's also been on episode 300, socialchefs.com/SC300, magical number 300. I think that was what, last year we hit that?
July.
Yes.
July. Yeah.
So,
not last year yet.
Exactly. Just in a few days, but we had her on, we asked her to also share her predictions because she always had such great advice. And so let's hear from Dorien.
Hey, my prediction for 2022 is that we're all going to spend a lot more time outside. Guess what? That's not anything new, is it? My name is Dorien Morin-van Dam, and I'm a social media strategist. I've been asked by Christian and Sarah to give you some predictions on what I think is going to happen in 2022 with social media. Well, there's 2 things I want to talk to you about today. The first one is the trend that we're seeing as far as creators Just about every platform is putting out special features to welcome and to gather more creators to the platform. By the way, I am on the Appalachian Trail, guys. I just want to show you. It's gorgeous out here in Vermont. I just got done with a early morning walk. That's why I have my headlamp on. And it's cold out here, but it's gorgeous. Anyway, so creators. On Pinterest, idea pins, they're done for creators. LinkedIn came out with creator profile. What do you get when you're activating that creator profile? You get a little video, but you also get access, boom, just like that, to newsletters, as well as to LinkedIn Live. Of course, YouTube is for creators, and then Facebook made an announcement just like a week or two ago that they're going to start paying creators. So be a creator, create video just like this out in the woods, go create outside, indoors, document what you're doing. That's what the new trend is. The second thing that I am seeing is that it continues to be a trend that's been happening for a while, is that all the conversations are happening in private areas, right? So in groups, in Facebook groups, think about the rise of Clubhouse in 2021. There's going to be WhatsApp, Telegram, all of those continue to do really well. DMs, there's new tools coming out for Instagram DMs. Chat bots now can be put on Instagram. So the conversations continue to be more and more private. If you want to connect with people, it's not going to be out in the open. Yes, through social media, you get to know people, but then you have the conversations in private, and that's a huge trend. So creators are the new commodity on social media, and the conversations are going private. Those are my two predictions. Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you to Sarah and Christian for inviting me out. And if you're ever in Vermont, come look me up, guys. It's gorgeous out here, no matter what season, but it's just awesome. I'm going to continue my walk back to my car, and you have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Literally from the trail. I mean, talk about a dedicated guest, right? Dorien always comes through for us. I think she's been on the show at least 3 times since I've been co-host, and always comes out with great knowledge. But I love how she's encouraging people to be creators. We heard Junaid say the same thing. And Juliette too, show your personal side, right? And it's really great to see Dorien on this journey where she's coming out. She does a lot of production and content management for clients, and she's really pushing more in media now. And it's great to see how she's doing this very in the moment thing. And it's perfect. Today is just exactly what she does.
It was, yes. And literally she filmed this just a little while ago, right before the show. We were chatting and she's like, oh, hey, let me just do that for you right now. Again, I think the key thing I want to drive home here is that a lot of people procrastinate about getting things done. And in this case, it's a 2 to 3 minute video. And she was out, she took her phone out. She simply, just recorded video. And then she just texted it to me. And it was that simple. And so, instead, what a lot of people do is they try to make it perfect, right? And in this case, she had a great setting. I mean, granted, Agata says, hey, it looks cold, Dorien, but here's the thing: it was a 2 to 3 minute video. So I think the key thing is maximizing the time that we're spending on things and just getting those things done. So, I mean, again, always love her advice that she gives us. Is there anything else you want to add?
I would add, she's demonstrating what Troy said at the top of the show, right? Remember when Troy said quality isn't about production value and how polished everything is. It's about what you're saying and what the content is. And Dorien I took half a page of notes in those 2 minutes that she talked about and encouraging creators and in the conversations going private. I think that's really key. And that means, yes, that means a bigger workload for those of us who are managing on the back end of social media. I have to say, I've seen just in this last month, probably double the amount of comments that one account usually gets. So I'm sorry, not comments, messages. Right. So she's really on to something there.
Yeah. And I 100% agree with the fact that, things are going to move private. You said this earlier that things were going to move to, you were doing more texting. I think a lot of people, I mean, this is the thing. WhatsApp has been around for a number of years. When we talk social media platforms, it's been around for a long time. However, it's also a platform that not a lot of people in like the United States, for example, not a lot of people use WhatsApp. They always associate it with, oh, well, I'll use it overseas. But then if you go overseas, that's what people use overseas. So they're not using Pinterest, for example. They're doing all their conversation, their transactions through WhatsApp.
Right.
So
they're not using telephones either. Remember when Meta went down in whenever that was for 8 hours, a lot of families in India, they lost contact with each other because they don't use phones. They don't know each other's phone numbers. They stay in touch through WhatsApp. So yeah, it's very much a North American thing that we don't do that. I'm not sure what it's like in Europe. Maybe I think Juliette's in the comments right now. Maybe she can let us know if WhatsApp is big in Europe. I think it is, knowing some people in Europe. So yeah, definitely something to think about going forward.
Definitely is. So we just have a couple more predictions here, and we're going to hear now from Mike NLTMW. Not going to tell you what NLTMW is. You just got to watch. So let's see what Mike's social media predictions are for 2022. By the way, again, we'll have to also see about having Mike on the show. Mike does a lot with 3D printing. So he's big in again, this comes back to like the same thing Junaid said. Like Junaid talked about, letting kind of some of your passion shine through. Mike's into 3D printing. But hey, he's always on the live streams. He's always here on Social Chatter. He's on a bunch of other live streams we do. So let's hear from Mike and his social media predictions for 2022.
Greetings all. I'm Mike, also known as NLTMW on all of the socials. I'm active in the 3D printing community, primarily YouTube and Twitter, where most of my people are. Generally, in 2022, I hope that the various social platforms stop playing follow the other guy, add the feature that the other guy added that they're being successful with, and then dropping it after a few months or losing interest or not supporting it or not fixing it to make it better than the other guys. Follow the leader doesn't usually last long in most of these games. As a sole proprietor, I can't invest all of my time in all of the social platforms. So just give me a reason to choose your platform and try to focus on that to meet my needs, not the needs of everybody on the planet. Overall, I suspect that video will still be the way to get things moving on social media, as everybody's added video over the last year pretty much. I hope that they all stick with it and make it easier to work with for everybody. Video is still the best way, in my opinion, to grab somebody's attention, but then you have to have a good way, a solid, easy way to redirect them to your longer form content or your website or whatever you're trying to get them to learn about. I suspect that live shopping will continue to grow in 2022, and I foresee that many people are going to have their own little QVC-esque type shopping channel where they can sell their products or other people's products. And I hope that these become more interactive so that it becomes more of a trust building relationship between the person doing the show and the audience, because that's the good way to build relationships and generate sales, right? My pet peeve has always been LinkedIn. I wish that they would make it easier for people like me that have a day job that has nothing to do with their side hustles that are way more important and interesting to me. Sending me a bunch of job links to jobs that I don't want is just a total waste and just makes me sour on their platform. I hope that they learn to look at the other things and let me tell them what I want better. But we'll see how that goes. And they have to open up video to everybody. It's still not there. I want to say that I've learned a lot from Social Chatter this past year. And thanks to Christian and Sarah and all of their guests, I've learned a lot of things that I didn't even know that I needed to know. So that's been great. I hope to continue that in 2022 and stay safe and never let the machines win.
Never let the machines win. That's great.
Absolutely. I got to say, what's your takeaways from Mike's predictions for 2022, Sarah?
Well, what's great about, what's been great about all of these guests is you and I were talking about our predictions. And as these videos came in for the show, it's like, oh, I don't have to talk about that. I can talk about something else, because I really feel what Mike is saying as a sole proprietor, but just, any business right now with the pace of change that's happened in 2021, no one's been able to keep up. Right. And even those that spend all day just learning what the social platforms are doing and changing, they can't keep up. So I've seen a lot of, those experts really narrow down and just talk about one platform because things are changing too much. And I think that is something that's coming to a head for 2022, is that those of us who are in business, who may be advertising, all of these things, all of the problems that we've had, all of the glitches that come up when new features are being rolled out, it's just too much. And if we're going to stay and keep doing business on social media, the platforms need to do a better job of letting us know what's rolling out and how to use these things, and take a breath. Right? This chasing after each other constantly is just too much for those of us who need to use these tools or want to use these tools.
Yeah. Excellent advice from Mike. So, Sarah, I'm going to put you on the spot now.
Yes.
We've gone through quite a few social media predictions for 2022. What are your social media predictions for 2022?
So my social media predictions is also my hope for social media. So I'm going to ask everybody, please put on your rose-colored glasses. And let's remember how social media started. And it really was a force for good. Social media has really spurred revolutions. I mean, literal revolutions around the world, with people sharing information on Twitter. It has helped elevate and advance equity among populations that haven't had their voices heard, or information that a lot of us from different backgrounds may never have known. We would not have known if not for social media. And I have to say that even the younger generations, we talk a lot about how mental health is a huge issue when it comes to social media. And I'm not discounting that in any way. It is a big problem. But social media and the internet in general has also been a way for young people to really find themselves and find their way much sooner than my generation did, or some other generations have. They've been able to find their people, find their tribe early on in life. So, in school, they may have been the only kid who was really interested in STEM or film or art or anime or something like that. But online and on social media, they've been able to find their tribe and their confidence and really blossom sooner in life and contribute more as a creator than any other generation has before. And I would say that's the same for older generations too. We've been able to find our people, whether you are a mom of an infant who's trying to just get through the night with a baby who won't sleep, or if you are working from home and completely isolated in a rural part like, say, Vermont, right, where you just need some connection with people. That's what social media can be. And what we've seen over the last 5 years, I want to say, is the worst of humanity come out on social media. And I think it's up to all of us to be able to stop that. We see the worst of humanity come through on the keyboards, where people aren't considering who's on the other end, who's going to be reading this message. And I think we need to get back to that. And to make this happen, it's going to take all of us. It's going to take the platforms, our government agencies, our health professionals, to really figure out what are the safety measures. What are safety measures for young people who want to connect, not just on social media, but the internet in general? What kind of data protections do we need so that we can feel like we can be out there and use these tools and not get that, as Juliette said, that bro marketing that comes up, that are feeding you things that are outlandish promises or misinformation. I think it's going to take businesses and creators to put out the quality content. We hear that again and again today. That quality content is going to create the connections. And, when you think about people who are just scrolling, we talk about the doom scrolling during the pandemic. It's not that people are seeking more information. It's that they're seeking connections. They're looking for where is it that I can connect? So the final point is going to take all of us, all of the users on these platforms, and the people who publish content, to remember that there are these other people. There is a person behind every post. And the content producers are doing their level best and being very vulnerable. That first video, that first post takes some courage to get out there, especially when you feel like you're behind. When other people are so far advanced and you're just getting started, we need to be there to support them. And when someone becomes negative, when someone Zoom bombs, I was part of the first Zoom bomb I've ever been a part of this week. We need to be able to stand up to that negativity, support those creators, and also maybe even ask those people who are being negative, why are you saying this? Because they may just be having a bad day, be in a bad place. And when you call out the humanity, they will say, I hadn't thought about that. I'm really sorry that I did that. So I'm going to say, here's to 2022, making social media a force for good and calling everybody to action to make that happen.
Excellent advice. Wow. So thanks for giving me a few minutes, by the way, to think about what my predictions are going to be.
Right.
I guess a lot of people are echoing the same thing that you just said, make social media a force for good. Absolutely love that. Also great comment here from Juliette as well. Social media is such a blessing as a platform for personal empowerment in her experience. Great prediction, Sarah. And then she also said, hey, you know what? Some of her clients I've attracted on social are in their 70s and they're rocking it. And I got to say, I love that. Again, that echoes kind of that whole, find your passion and follow it versus, and I think the key thing is typically find it early, but hey, if you don't find it early, everybody finds it at different points and then start to just follow it. And so with that, I want to offer my prediction for social media 2022. I got to think on this for a second here. So, because there's so many good things that everybody has come up with.
So many good things. So, we had talked about live shopping. You are an expert in live shopping and how you're doing a lot of video on Amazon as well.
I am, yes.
How to use things and giving people instruction.
Yeah. I think so with this, I think my prediction is probably going to be, we're going to see more people making hopefully more video, getting more comfortable with video. So, obviously we know that, and Scott echoed this. He said, hey, you know what? People's attention spans are getting shorter. So that's going to mean that we need to produce better content. And I think hopefully by 2022, I think now we're going to see people instead of just it's great to just start doing it, but you also then have to build a strategy around it. And that's what makes things move. And people then help you move things. So, for example, a lot of people, they just start doing social media. That's great. But then you have to be willing to look at it and say, well, okay, are my efforts making an impact? And you may not necessarily be able to see that, it may not be visible. It's like when you do live streaming and people say, hey, nobody tuned in, but guess what? Look at the replay, you get the numbers. So if your numbers are then, going up, you're obviously doing something right. If you're not seeing those numbers go up, then that means you need to work on your messaging. It needs to work on your delivery. It means you need to work on building relationships with other people to help spread that message. And so what I mean by that when I say, hey, you know what, we're going to see more video content, I think people are going to start to be less afraid to just put it out there. Because again, in a way, we hold ourselves back. We hold ourselves back by not spending, not putting ourselves out there because we're afraid of failing or we're afraid of being ridiculed or things like that. Here's the thing though. If you know your material, just talk about it, put it out there. By knowing your material, again, big deal. If somebody says something, bad or negative or whatever, and don't let it throw you off your game. Stick to your game, play your game, play to your strengths. And again, get comfortable with the technology. Like the technology is not going to bite you. So for example, if your phone, if you're like, hey, I don't know how to use my phone, reach out and ask somebody. For example, you're welcome to reach out to me. I love tech. I love gadgets. Sarah, as you know, I will talk all day about tech and gadgets and social media and whatnot. So, but feel free to reach out to people that can help you, because guess what? Instead, you're going to stay stuck. And so I think the key thing is going to be, again, don't be afraid to reach out to people. Don't be afraid to ask, and don't feel, like, hey, I don't want to ask because I'm embarrassed or whatever. So I think, again, my prediction for 2022, more people are going to be making video. They're going to be tapping into building a better strategy around what they're doing, so that then everything that they do starts to have an impact. And that's my prediction for 2022. So, and Sarah, I think Sarah, let me see if we can.
I'm muted.
Oh, good.
We can't let a show go off without having me forget the mute button. So, but I think overall today, what you said, taking a chance, putting yourself out there, producing something that's good is the most important thing.
Yeah. And it comes down to, like, it doesn't matter what the format is. Like, if for example, you've got writing and you got blogging, you got audio, and you got video. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people will say, hey, I'm not a writer. Well, if you're not a writer, there's other mediums to get your message out there. You mentioned earlier, we talked about Amazon live shopping. Absolutely right. If you're not a blogger and, you don't really like sitting down at the keyboard, typing stuff out, and hey, you don't really like making tutorials, but you know how to describe products and sell, use Amazon, make live videos, make shoppable videos, for example, and let your knowledge and your expertise shine through when you talk about stuff. So again, don't be afraid to test something out and see what works and what doesn't work. But then at the same time, be willing to make a slight adjustment. So,
right. And Bob has a great comment here. There are no stupid questions. And if you can make it easier for people to ask, all the better. So, because like I said, everybody has a first day. Every generation is going to be new to these careers in social media. Everybody's going to have questions, or they're going to evolve and change and need to know how to use these tools for that new stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, lots of excellent points from everyone here. But this has been episode 324 of Social Chatter. So Sarah, when's our next show?
Our next show is next Thursday. And, I haven't even looked on a calendar. I don't even know what day that's going to be.
I think it's the 6th of January.
Yeah.
And we're going to start off with Juliette Stapleton, actually. She's going to be our guest. So it should be a lot of fun. We'll
talk more about this humanity and these connections on social media, which will be great.
Absolutely. Well, with that, I think I have one last question, and that's, I want to hear from everyone who's watched and stuck with us this whole time, this show. What are your social media predictions for 2022? Where do you think things are headed? Was there something that one of the people shared that really resonates with you? Where do you think we're headed in 2022? But let us know in the comments. With that, we will see you all in 2022. Exactly. Have a happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Bye.